Hello, I'm Sam Sneed, and I'm here today to talk about MOOCS, an acronym for Massive Open Online Courses. MOOCS got started a couple of years ago, generally founded by people in the artificial intelligence, robotics industries, professors from leading schools such as Stanford, MIT, Harvard. Also, Salman Khan, the founder of the Khan Academy, which has just taken off, was an early contributor to a lot of the thinking around MOOCs. So basically, the concept of all of the founders of the three leading MOOCs, Coursera, Udacity, and edX, started out with a vision to provide free online courses by leading professors in their fields to a global student audience. Now, we'll get to the business model around MOOCs later. Let's start out by making an important note, which is that MOOCs are definitely in iteration 1.0. You should not expect them to be perfect. For example, many have leveled criticisms at the number of students who drop out of MOOCs. But let's remember, MOOCs are free, and a lot of people are out there, shall we say, kicking the tires. In fact, how many people don't follow through on things that they pay for? For example, have you ever bought one of those language DVDs? Or rented a movie that you never watched, a language you never learned but paid substantially for? Enough said. The point being, iteration 1.0, and you know what? They could not be more exciting. Let's take Udacity, for example, where right now, the two of three co-founders, Sebastian Thrun and David Stavens, are each offering a course on Udacity. Now, Sebastian Thrun's course is 7 weeks on how to program your own Google-type car. He ought to know, he's one of the co-creators of the Google car, and you leave his course with an actual working program that you've done in computer language that in the future you could use, depending, on how to program your very own Google car. And David Stavens, his 7-week course, also on computer language, computer programming, is all about how to fashion your own mini Google search engine. And you leave his course with an actual working program that you've designed to do your own mini Google search engine. Now, how exciting is that? Let's get back to some of the founders of these leading MOOCs. Coursera, which has some 2.8 million registered users already, was founded by Daphne Kohler out of Stanford's Computer Science Department, and Andrew Ng, an associate professor of computer science at Stanford. Udacity was founded by Sebastian Thrun, David Stavens, and Mike Milikowski. And edX is a joint venture of MIT and Harvard, and it is now led, at least by an executive director, who was the former director of MIT's Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, Anand Agarwal. So that's quick background on the three of them. They've all announced recent expansions. In fact, they are going into foreign language courses taught by leading professors from some of the world's leading universities. That's also pretty darn exciting. Now, let's talk about MOOCs for a minute from a student's perspective. My recent experience is perhaps illuminating. I signed up for 2 courses on Coursera that were supposed to start January 28th. One was on social network analysis, and the other, which I was really looking forward to, was on online education theory and practice. Both taught by world's leading experts, the latter by a woman who had designed many of NASA's online education programs. A little before the 28th of January, I got an email from the social network analysis team that, for unspecified reasons, they would be starting the course March 4th instead. I'm happy to report it started March 4th, as planned, the second time around. Couldn't be more exciting. I'm downloading my LinkedIn network into special software, and I'm going to be able to analyze it in 3D, looking at all of the nodes and relationships I never imagined existed among my some 300 connections on LinkedIn. Now, The online course, Theory and Practice, How to Do Online Education by one of the world's leading experts, got off to a pretty poor start. There was an unmoderated spreadsheet that you signed up for to join a group of about 20 to take the course in. There were some 41,000 global students from all over the world, which was very exciting. But because the spreadsheet was not moderated or controlled, I entered a group. My name kept getting taken out of it by people with no ill intent, just it was very unclear how to use the spreadsheet. The world's leading expert in online education suspended the course after about a week and a half, and to get reorganized, shall we say, and it hasn't been restarted yet. I'm waiting with bated breath. Now, I had some interesting correspondence with one of our nation's presidents of one of our nation's leading universities, who's actually teaching a course on Coursera. His is going very well. And let's just say we found it highly amusing that the world's leading expert on online education theory and practice had to suspend their course. So, iteration 1.0. But it couldn't be more exciting from a student's perspective, because these courses that are ongoing have global students from many cultures. One of the most interesting features is that, for example, one of the courses on edX got started with the thought that graduate students would moderate the groups, but they quickly discovered that crowd moderation worked better and was taking over and superseding the planned moderation. So those grad student moderators became watchers to observe and monitor why and how well the crowdfunding self-moderation was working and evolving. Let's jump ahead and talk about MOOCs from a university perspective. And when I talk with different people at universities about MOOCs and what's going on, it's a word of caution. It's one thing for Harvard, MIT, Stanford, with huge endowments, to experiment and have their professors, their leading professors, participate in educating a global audience for free. It's quite another thing, in my view, to have your more typical college or university, which is stressed financially with all kinds of pressures, trying to take the time of some of their leading professors to educate a global audience for free. Why would they be doing that? I'm not sure they should. In fact, I don't think they should. I think they should be sitting back and carefully observing what's going on by way of the pedagogy in these MOOCs. Now, here's an area where your typical college and university definitely can benefit from this iteration 1.0 and so forth, in terms of helping their own faculty and so forth develop better pedagogies. For example, the flipped classroom. In particular in STEM courses, which are having trouble attracting students, like many courses such as design and art courses with much more state-of-the-art pedagogies for the wired and net generation. So, for example, many STEM courses are still taught the way I first took them at Yale 40 years ago. You see the back of the professor, a lot of the course, writing in chalk on sliding blackboards. No, I'm sorry. People wonder why only 20% of the majors at Yale are STEM majors. That may be one reason, and incoming President Peter Salovey recently addressed this at a symposium at Davenport College, where he said Yale is absolutely focused on getting the STEM pedagogies more current for the wired and net generation. For example, why not have that lecture online for the class to see the night before, so when they come to class they use the intellectual capital of that professor to interact around problems and issues that they're having with the material. The flipped classroom, highly recommended, all generated by the Khan Academy and these three leading MOOCs. Let's get for a second to the business models. I don't address this in the written version of this op-ed that may be appearing in some publications. Rather, it was a teaser to come online and watch this online version. So the business model around MOOCs is an interesting one, and there are different approaches already, as one might expect for iteration 1.0. At Udacity, the plan is to earn revenue by becoming a search firm for technology companies, and already it's working exceedingly well. Udacity has been able to identify some of the world's leading intellectual capital and aptitude for technology positions, and is funneling it to some of the leading technology companies, initially in the Palo Alto, Menlo Park, area. soon to expand to other areas of the country. Interesting business model. Another business model that's been proposed by MIT's President Reif, and I think an excellent one, is to think about a low cost for these massive courses. In other words, maybe a $5 charge, nothing that would inhibit a student from taking them. Scholarships available if that's an issue for people from some parts of the world. So if you had, say, 150,000 students in an open online massive course by edX, and it was $5 each, you'd have about $450,000 in revenue. And a lot of that revenue could then go to support the resident campus at MIT or Harvard, for example, for those students who could get in and felt like the residential life was still the primary experience that they wanted to have. Additional revenue models around, for example, Coursera, is that if you want to take the course for credit, you can appear at a learning center where I think they're establishing some relationships at either Princeton, I think it's Princeton Review, and you can take a proctored exam for, say, a $10 charge and get credit for the course, if you will. So there are a couple of ideas around some of the business models which are definitely workable because of the scale of the number of students in the course. So they couldn't be more exciting. They're in iteration 1.0. Stay tuned, and most importantly, sign up for one of these MOOCs. Even if you don't complete it, go kick the tires. They're really exciting. Take care.